First, I'd like to introduce John Ghermezian, who is originally from Edmonton, Canada, and is now the Chief Business Officer of the Mall of America in Bloomington, Minnesota, and the Vice Chairman of 555 Corporation. So John resides in Minneapolis with his wife, Alice, and children, and we are so happy that he has joined us here this morning to talk about business and how business is going, how COVID has affected that, how other factors have affected what's going on right now, and just to share general wisdom. Welcome, John. And also here is Amy Zaroff, who is at a self-professed high point in life. As an early career in television production and later as a marketing director, this allowed Amy to refine her skills in design, planning, and time management. Along with her husband, Amy fine-tuned her innate skills in event planning at their authentic New York-style delicatessen. In 2004, she purchased the invitation, stationery, and gift store Give My Regards To, and added full-service event planning to the company's repertoire of services. Over the next several years, Amy began to build an all-encompassing event planning service that would deliver exceptional customer service by working intimately with clients to understand every aspect of their special events, which is what she continues to do now with Amy Zaroff Events and Design. She's served on several boards, including the Birthday Project, Pabst Packs, and Appetite for Change, which we love. And she volunteers for several agencies and organizations offering pro bono event planning and focuses on organizations that will benefit women and children. Kudos, Amy, and welcome. And we also have our own TCG Folk board member, Josh Awend, who's a small business owner, entrepreneurial enthusiast, and ideast. He has a background in improv comedy, so I'm sure he's going to crack some jokes today. He usually does when we're on the JLink morning breakfasts, which we enjoy. He also has a background in studio arts and making space for creativity. His family business is a commercial window treatment business based in Golden Valley, and he also, again, sits on our board. So Josh has 3 very spirited kids and an amazing wife, and we're happy that they're bringing their full selves, including their business and their home life, to this get together. So with that, can I hand things over to you, Josh?
Yes. Good morning. Good morning. I do want to say that this is going to be the exact opposite of what I just watched with that yoga. So if you do want to take a minute of namaste, that time is over. We're going to just shatter that and get into some pretty high level stuff. Welcome everyone to our conversation with 2 of Minnesota Jewish community business leaders, the amazing eventist, Amy Zaroff, and the mind behind the MOA, John Ghermezian. We'll be sharing and talking about how they morph, they pivot, and they've reinvented all of the business that they run for this new time. How do these 2 businesses that are not based in the Zoom culture, how have they really refined what they do every day to make the world a better place? My name is Josh Awend, like Genevieve just said. I'm one of the founding members of the JLink committee. I'm a board member here at Jewfolk, and I'm also a small business owner. The JLink community is just one of many ways that Jewfolk is here to connect Jews into the Minnesota community. Between the writing and the podcast networks and the Mamalas and the J Create, all those are doors that you can just simply open to walk into the Jewfolk community that's established here to experience the Twin Cities Jewish life. Thanks to the board for its vision. Thanks to the sponsors for your financial support. Thanks to Libby and Genevieve and Sarah and Lonnie and all the staff that work every day to shed the light on our community. This is your first chance to interact with everyone. I want everyone to go to jcation.org on your browsers, whatever it is. I've made it our goal. We're going to get to it. We're going to get to $3,000. Come heck or high water. I even put a tie on for this event. So you back at home, one of the many faces are going to go, and you have sponsored this sip right here of coffee. So while I sip this delicious City Girl coffee and take a bite of my bagel from the Common Roots Cafe, both local Jewish businesses it's your chance to sponsor us. So we're going to get to $3,000 right now. So I'm going to take this big sip of coffee before we started. Everyone cleanse their palates. Let's ground ourselves, and then we're going to get after it. So to you at home, thanks for sponsoring this sip, and let's do it. Boom. All right. With that said, we are going to jump right in. Amy and John, thank you very much for taking the time this morning to play business with us. So with all your wonderful experience, I guess I want to start out with some of the questions that we talked about. If you could just tell us about your business and the role it's played. Let's go in a time machine and go pre-COVID, go 2020, before 2020, and let's talk about what life was like. What were you doing before all this kind of happened? So welcome, John. If you want to kick us off, that'd be great.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I got my coffee. Didn't get my bagel yet, but it'll come soon. First of all, thank you everyone for arranging this. I know it's early or maybe late for some people, but it's definitely glad to be part of this, and all the work that you guys are doing. So it's an honor to be part of this. So really interesting, because I would say like January, February, even of this year, everything was like in a very positive trajectory, at least in terms of our business. Economy was booming, everything, so if you think about where people were with forecasting, so we were sort of like planning this scenario, and a lot of our resources and a lot of our planning sort of went in that direction. Obviously things changed quite dramatically to that. But I would say that pre-COVID, I guess the question really is I'm going to see what the question is. If you could word the question again so I can make sure I'm answering the right.
This one is just tell us about your pre-COVID business. Where were you? Like you said, you're in a good trajectory. What was the goal of the business?
Yeah, so we were in a good trajectory. A lot of the initiatives that we had planned over the next, let's say, 5 years, because we are a shopping center, and a lot of people will read in the headlines about the death of the shopping center. We actually try to take the word mall out of our name. So you'll see MOA more than Mall of America. Our project in New Jersey that we actually just opened last week, called the American Dream, we don't even have the word mall in that statement, because we sort of want to get out of that category, and we want to be an experience center, and that's really what we're all about. Our business is about the human experience and trying to create a touch point for all people and all families to find a way to connect. And so we really are just like, making a matchmaker between businesses and ideas and people, and so we have to somehow morph all of those together into one thing. So pre-COVID, we were in a really, very positive outlook. And then, when things shifted dramatically, we might talk about resilience and through this, but I would have to say hats off to our management team and the whole team that we've shifted in such dramatic ways. And because our team is very dedicated to the property, because of sort of what we mean to our team and to the community, so everyone was very impassioned to make those shifts. But a big shift, really, I would say the most dramatic shift is in the digital transformation that's taking place. A lot of things that we had been wanting to do for the last 3-4 years, or even tested, the market just wasn't ready for it. So there's a lot of incredible opportunities that we see, despite obviously the challenges, but we think that there's a lot of opportunities coming up.
Let's not give away all of the fun on the next questions. Amy, do you have what were you doing back in the prehistoric days of 2019?
Oh, just twiddling my thumbs. I was just first of all, thank you guys so much for including me. I feel very honored to be on the same panel with John, and I'll just cut right to it. Like John said, believe it or not, even though he's in the business of malls and we're in the business of events, we also produce life's most memorable experiences. And so pre-COVID, that meant in person, just like at the mall. Now that means virtually. And I think John and I both are now tasked with figuring out how we most meaningfully engage our clients and the communities that we serve to create a virtual experience that feels as immersive and memorable and exciting and creative as it did when we were in person. And so my company is 17 years old. We do events locally and around the country. We started off as a social event planning company, weddings, barn, bat mitzvahs, anniversaries, things like that. And we morphed into more of a corporate, nonprofit, experiential marketing business. And I feel very, very fortunate that I was able to join, partner up, not literally, but partner up with one of my favorite audiovisual firms when COVID struck, to say, how can we create the most user-friendly experiences, specifically for nonprofits to have their virtual galas, raise the most money, but not feel like they're on Zoom. Nothing wrong with Zoom, but we wanted to create an experience that felt more curated and customized.
Nice. So how is it that, so now March hits, everything goes, not to mention, you know, the election that that we've been crammed down our throat, the amazing political or civil world that we live in. Can you explain maybe how has your business, now that COVID and where our new reality has kind of established, where are you at in your business these days? What's going on? What's the new normal look like? Amy, if you want to start us off.
The new normal looks a lot like this. I spend most of my days online with our clients, dreaming up how we can make their events the best experiences for everyone. And so my background early on, I went to school for television production. So for me, I found a very exciting opportunity to figure out, how do we make a meaningful experience look like a television show? And so, you know, in events and in television, there's a distinct beginning, middle, and end. And if you've done your job right, you leave the guest wanting more. So that was, I took that skill set and I put it right into this. And I think so my days are filled with dreaming up the stories. And believe it or not, doing my garage is now turned into a celebration in a box assembly line. So a lot of our events, just like you, I'm the one physically putting together, you know, hundreds of boxes to send to sponsors around the country. It brings me back to the deli days when I was washing dishes back at the restaurant. So there's no shame in doing a little bit of all the things and bringing you back to the roots of where you started. That's why I believe entrepreneurs become entrepreneurs, because they're willing to do a little bit of a lot of things.
Very true. You always have to pivot and what's next, and it's a whole nother game. John, is there something new that you have stumbled into with this? What's your new normal with the COVID and
Yeah,
that the mall is doing a lot of stuff?
yeah. So for us to pivot online is not as practical, obviously, because ultimately our business is about the success of 500 other businesses. And our success is very much dependent on them being able to, you know, stay alive through this challenging time. So our digital pivot has been a little bit different than that. I would say there are two really important things that we've been focused on. One is, you know, pre-COVID, the focus was on, I would say, consumerism and identifying needs that people had and trying to find the most efficient and effective way for people to, from the point of having a need to being able to get it in the most productive way. That's why shopping centers exist, because people don't like driving to 8 different locations. There's a convenience factor. Everything has been turned upside down on itself, and that it's no longer consumerism first, it's safety first. And I can't tell you how important that has been in the minds of the people that we're dealing with. Because on one hand, I mean, Mall of America, we were forced to close the mall much before any mandate happened, because the community just felt like, Mall of America, millions of people, how could you be open in the middle of a pandemic? And although our safety protocols have only increased, and we were in an incredible position, and also we have an incredible responsibility to our tenants, because the sentiment in the market was so strong that they looked at us as a leader in that space. So then we made the decision early on to close much earlier than everyone else, in order to really make sure that we are we've elevated our game. And so I would say that in terms of the general mindset that exists within our entire organization right now is safety first. And safety first is more than just the visitors to the center. Safety first also is like, how do our tenants feel? Like, how do the employees at our stores feel when you have hundreds of thousands of people coming in? Do they feel safe working at Mall of America? And on top of that, what about, my staff and our employees that are frontline? They're really, dealing and interacting with people. I mean, how important is it for them to feel safe? And so I don't know if anyone's familiar with OKRs, which is objective and key results planning. So our our big OKRs for these next 2 quarters are purely around safety initiatives. And it's almost like our security team is now making sure to go into tenant stores and making sure that everyone's wearing masks and that there's hand sanitizers at every entrance. And you'd be surprised, a lot of these smaller businesses, they just don't have the capacity or training. And so we sort of now have become supplemental safety experts in trying to make our environment safe. That's the first point I would say, is that's the first major pivot. The second point, and I think it's a subtlety, but it's a really important one, is there's so much focus on the safety and the health concerns that it's almost forgotten in what context. What's the context of the safety and security? So because I'm concerned about my health, so do I lock myself in my house, and then all the other emotional wellness pieces of my life, are they non-existent? Are they non-factors in the decisions that I make as a person on a daily basis? Now, this is going to be a very gross analysis example, but we all get in cars understanding that there's a risk factor in driving, right? Because we understand that there's things that I need to do to take care of my family, to take care of my own needs. And I think a big part of what we need to do as people is still celebrate humanity in terms of our human interaction, and understand that there's still a very important need for us to be able to connect with people, albeit in safe ways. And so what we see our role in that respect is that people still need a place and places to be able to share experiences with the people they love and care about. And we have a responsibility to make sure that we're creating that environment for people to be able to do that, because there aren't many places where you have incredibly large corridors with 30 feet ceilings with very high grade air ventilating systems. And Nickelodeon Universe, which is our amusement park, we're limited to 250 people at a time in an amusement park, which can regularly service thousands of people. So I always tell people, I'm like, if you want a private amusement park visit, this is when you should be going. But
we should turn off the audio for all the kids at home being like, oh wait, I can have a private tour of I can ride the Ferris wheel as many times as I want.
Right. And so for us, like, we're very deliberate about how do we create the safest environment that we can, but still encourage people to still be humans. I mean, we are so stressed up. I feel like we're all squished into these little boxes, literally, and we haven't learned yet how to adjust to the new normal. So what I'm hoping is that what we can at least be for the community is a place for people to be able to experience that new normal in a way that they feel safe and comfortable without this always looming fear that's overriding everything that I do. Sorry, that's a little bit long answer.
Amy, do you have, is there a way that you're trying to bring people back together as well?
Yes, it really is amazing how many overlapping ideas there are between the business of shopping and malls and the business of events. Because again, at the core of it, we're all bringing people together. But much like John, what I did and my event community did locally was we created, for safety purposes, the Minnesota Events Coalition to be the safety kind of voice and guide for our community. And, there are many, especially the many new younger planners that are popping up that just don't necessarily, everybody at different generations feels differently about how they deal with COVID and safety and comfort. And so it was our job to work with the governor's office and the Minnesota Department of Health to figure out how to guide them on what might be the best practices for bringing people together safely in events. So whereas John can have 250 people at Nickelodeon Universe, if you were going to have a wedding for 450 people, you no longer can have that even 250 safely. Now it's a very small portion of that. And at the end of the day, if we can just take away the stigma and teach people that if you want to dance, which no longer you can now in social events, locally anyway, in Minnesota, but if you want to dance and you just wear a mask and you dance with, the 4 people that are in your family, which can equally be as fun and exciting, we can get through this. Unfortunately, there's just too many people that aren't willing to make those small changes for the benefit of the greater good. And so it's kind of like I've become a good cop, bad cop. To my clients who really want to still have their in-person gatherings, I'm coming up with creative ways that they can do it. I have one client, for example, where they'll have, shifts of, 25 people at a time with a 30-minute separator so I can have my team re-clean and get things rolling. But when we do that, we're outside in the elements still, and we're about to have Minnesota elements. so at least for John, he's got this wide open space and he can pull people together a little bit more with more reassurance that they're going to be okay. But if everyone, I'm not trying to get political, but if everyone would just wear the masks, we could gather safely in so many ways. So long-winded way to say, Josh, that safety is a theme that we're all dealing with in our businesses. And for some businesses, as John was saying, those 500 other stores and my clients and my vendors specifically, who are all small businesses, it's expensive to be safe. And so we have to really think about the implication on our creative partners and our vendors. And in your case, your tenants, John, of what this is going to look like for them to spend the money to be safe. And that's where we're really challenged as well.
We have a big challenge for us too. I mean, that safety idea for us, it's like we're going in and out of commercial buildings all the time. We haven't stopped. I mean, we were going into hospitals at the height of the whole outbreak. And how do I, as a business owner, like you both said, like consciously say, I'm going to send an installer in to install in a hospital and make sure that they have a mask, that they have sanitizer, that the facility itself has done that. So as a small business owner, safety is the number one before anything. And on top of it, our sites will get shut down for a week at a time without warning. You'll get an email saying that this construction site is shut down for a week due to COVID. And how do you rearrange all of your staff to then put them in other places to make it as efficient as possible? So it's a new world. And I mean, like we've all just had to, as a business owner, you just have to do it. This is a little bit of a question that we didn't talk about before, but I wanted to throw this out since Amy, you brought it up. How are you going to deal as a business in both the events and the space ideas? How are you going to deal with Minnesota winters? Can you plan an event in a Minnesota winter? Or is shopping capacity going to go up? And I know that maybe John, you can speak to this idea of using the space at the mall. Sorry to keep using that dirty word. How can you use that location to do the experience-based events that you've made between the theme park and the other attractions that you brought, the Crayola experience? I know that those are big pushes for you at the MOA. So Amy, if you want to start with winter.
Well, I embrace winter. A couple of years back when we had the Super Bowl here, one of the pinnacles of my career was doing a Super Bowl event and embracing the outdoors and creating a 50 by 50 ice structure that then housed a car that was later auctioned off that night. So I like to figure out ways to use the elements to our favor. Not all of my clients like to do that. So I might be the only guest, but I think that what we need to do is really be thinking, as I said earlier, about the importance of a virtual experience when we're thinking about an event. And so if we can remove the Zoom factor for just a moment and understand that producing an event like producing a television show, you have a shorter period of time to keep your audience engaged. So if you have a 30-minute television show, I don't know if you're aware of this, but 22 minutes are programming and 8 minutes are commercials. And typically you want to fast forward through the commercials. My job as an event producer, especially in the winter, is to keep you engaged for those 22 minutes and leave you wanting more. And so I do that by sending you part of the experience, you know, physically to your home or office. I do that by encouraging you to safely gather with your pot of people and celebrate that way. I hope that I'll get to do that by hosting events at the Mall of America very soon. But that's how I embrace the elements. And I think that if, you know, again, going back to that generational comment, some people are more inclined to be able to engage in the elements than others. And so you have to know your audience.
Interesting. John, how are you gonna deal with the snow as it kind? You have experience coming from Canada, but how do you think it's gonna work coming in here with winter and, like you said, the safety? Like, how do you hand sanitize with gloves on?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I mean, if everyone was wearing gloves, that's actually probably better. But for us, so I would say holiday is the key time of the year for all of our retailers. They really budget a lot of their income around that time of year. And so for us to make sure that we have experiences, so, you know, holiday season has a certain twinkle about it. And we've always prided ourselves in being able to create an environment where it's more being part of that experience that you have when you come to visit us. And so we've re-envisioned all of those experiences to be done in ways that are still engaging, but very distant. Obviously, like the Santa experience is now going to be in 3 different locations where you're doing different activities. We've removed lineups. We now do virtual queues for almost everything as much as we can. There's a lot of really good technologies which prevent people from having to wait in lines, which is something very important for us. And I think so it's less winter for us because, you know, Mall of America is 72 degrees year round. But the key is going to be, you know, one of the reasons people enjoy the environment of the mall is because you can come out in the wintertime. And so for us, we want to make sure that as holiday season and that shopping period comes into play, that we're going to make sure that we have all of those elements in play, like, you know, movement through the center, making sure. I mean, one other thing that we've done, and we could talk a little bit more about this, is there's a phenomenon called live stream shopping. It's much more popular in China. And what it is like you'll have, you know, just a person walk into a store with their phone and they're literally live streaming themselves shopping. And you can have hundreds or thousands of people watching and interacting with them. And then they actually buy things on behalf of the people that are watching them. And so we thought that this was a really, really big opportunity to start pivoting into the live streaming space. So we partnered with a small startup to start showcasing stores where you can actually now register for a show, and they'll pick your favorite show and then store, and then someone, you know, our staff will actually go in and highlight a bunch of products. So we're sort of trying to create virtual foot traffic that supports our tenants to be able to make sales. But then you have a lot of people that are not comfortable yet going into the mall's environment. And so we have to try to figure out a way. So how can people interact with the broad assortment of things that we have that people hope to be able to shop for and be able to do it safely from home? So we think that's going to be a new normal for sure as we go forward. I just want to back in the last point, my sister was supposed to get married before COVID, and she was planning this huge wedding, and we were all so excited. It was going to be my parents live in New York, and as COVID was going, we were like sort of like cutting the guest list and then cutting the venue size, and then at the end of the day, it ended up taking place in my parents' backyard with just immediate family. And I have to tell you, it was the most incredible wedding that I've ever been to, because I've never been to a wedding where I was just able to focus on the wedding. I mean, it sounds so crazy. And in that, I think that gave me a paradigm shift in general, in that so much of our focus in the past has been on mass communication, mass marketing. Like, how do I get a message out to the most amount of people? And I think that for me, what we've shifted as much as we can is there's a huge opportunity to focus on the individual now. And I think the acquisition, the loyalty acquisition you can get now, because you can focus on individuals. Like, look at what we're doing right now. We're focused on individuals. We're taking time to be able to get a group of people together to connect with them more intimately. It might take more work and effort, but I think the opportunity now is that people are ready to connect more individually. And those experiences are no less empowering.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those kind of crazy ideas that, like, when you have a Zoom bar mitzvah, is that going to be a new norm? Are you going to have Zoom technology at, whether it's, life cycle events or those types of things? Amy, are you seeing that at all across your industry?
Yes, I want to piggyback on what John just said, though, about the intimate gathering. Both of us have made our careers on big things, right? Like a big mall, the biggest mall in the world. And for me, how many people can I get at an event? How many eyes can I have on the experiential marketing initiative for Target, or, something like that? And I agree with you 100%, John. What this taught me was the clients that I had that were going to have 450 or 500 people at their events, that then became 25 people, have now become the most meaningful work that I've done. And I think that that's the case because exactly what you said. Number one, it didn't require 15 team members in order to make it happen. It required, we are in the business of relationships. And so whether that relationship is with a store owner or a mother of the bride, those relationships are what are going to sustain our businesses for years to come. Because if we've left a lasting impact, I live by the mantra, and some of my family is on this call right now, but I live by the mantra, all you have is your name, use it wisely. And when you use your name to benefit those experiences and the reputation, you should be known as, I left a lasting impression on this person and I want more of that. And that's the experience we get when we go to the Mall of America. Hopefully that's the experience we get when we attend one of these events. And so I really do value and respect. I guess it's making me a little bit reflective right now on moving forward into 2021. How can our businesses become that of intimate relationships and smaller one-off experiences to be known for, instead of the planner that does the big events? Because I don't know if that's necessary to be known for anymore. I would.
The market, I guess the question also would be is, does the market want it? Or have people become so bubbleized in some way that it's like, I would rather stay with my pod of, like, to think that the idea of a pod is just general vocabulary is just known throughout your world, that, like, for us, like, school age kids have to be in these pods in these neighborhoods, and everything is broken down into such small little components that, like you said, is that what you as an events business is going to be marketing? How do you do a bat mitzvah that's now for 10 people, 10 really close girlfriends that all go on an experience somewhere, versus 200 people at a synagogue?
Yeah. Well, like I said earlier, the crux of what my business has become hasn't been, weddings and bar and bat mitzvahs, but I have to tell you that that's what I moved back to a lot this year, to figure out just that, Josh. How could I create experiences for people on a smaller scale that felt really, really great? And one of the very first bar mitzvah clients that switched to being a hybrid of virtual and in person, the in-person was virtually nobody, but it mattered so much to them that the most important people were there. And I told this child, you became the pioneer of technological bar mitzvahs, and so now your friends are looking at you, that you're the new normal, and they want to join in and do those things. So I think if we change our perspective and we start to think about this as the new norm, there's no stigma around it. And I'm very excited about it. I think that like John said, what I would love to take part in that kind of technology, because I personally hate to shop, but I like to look nice. So I would love to do that from the comfort of home, right? And I see that there's going to be a huge opportunity for companies that can be forward thinking, like both of ours, to really succeed in the years ahead.
Right. John, are you doing anything real quick before you answer, John? I'm watching on the Jcation. I have the Jcation thing up here. Y'all got to get on the thing. If this is the link, I'm going to try to do it right down here. I could be wrong with me pointing, is where you can go ahead and donate. Let's move the needle on that 2778. Let's if everybody on this call went ahead and donated like $1 to what we're doing, I think that we would be in a much better place. With that said, John, how are you doing things to accommodate smaller experiences there at the mall?
So a lot of it is going to be about individual communication. And so one of the big things for us was Black Friday has always been like this huge event where you had thousands of people lined up outside, and people are running aimlessly around. It's actually quite comical to watch people at 5 a.m. running around. But we have to rethink that entire experience and try to think, how can we engage our customers, but at the same time not in a mass communication. So one thing that we've done, which it's a really cool project that we're doing now, is we're trying to digitally send people like scratch offs. I don't know if any of you have seen them, and we're testing out this technology to see if we can do scratch offs, and then if people win, they individually will come at their own time to these machines, and then they can redeem their prize. Then you have no interaction with people. You're doing this as much digitally as possible. And we found that to be a really powerful way for people to be able to still come out and feel comfortable and sort of get into that excitement of the environment. One of the other initiatives that we're working on, and this may resonate with a lot of people, returns is a real problem. Like, for some reason, they haven't figured out how to do returns for online packages, and everyone has got like hundreds of dollars of products that they just never knew how to return. And returning them at the malls as well is a big challenge, because you first got to go to all these different stores, but then also you might have to wait in line to get into a store to actually make a return. And with holiday shopping coming up, a big piece of the season is returns. Like, you'd be surprised. Like, I think, I forgot what it was, but like an incredible percentage of things that are going to be bought are going to be returned. And we're thinking in advance of how do we manage that. And so what we're trying to do is we're partnering with a really one of the third-party vendors that runs the back end process for returns. So if you were to think like Zara, if you buy something on Zara.com and you want to make a return, you're going to this company and they're managing the return process. And so we went to this group and we said, look, you guys are already managing the return process for hundreds of these retailers. What if we partner together and create return centers where people can just come to the customer service desk at Mall of America and then just offload the H&M, the Zara, the Free People in one spot, get their credit, and then decide if they want to stay or not within the mall. So that, we think, is going to be hopefully a very helpful tool for people. The other thing that we're working on is Curbside, which is sort of a real daunting task for us. A lot of businesses have shifted to Curbside because it's just one business and I need to manage that. We're trying to manage Curbside for hundreds of businesses, and when each one has their own program, it's a complete disaster. And so we're working with partners to be able to have everyone work with one platform, that if you go shopping at one of the websites of a retailer, and then there's an option to pick up in store, that we're going to layer in the option to just pull up to the mall and be able to have that product delivered to me. We think that's going to be an important piece for the holiday. We're not going to get it right. We're going to get a lot of things wrong, but thankfully our team knows that that's a very important part of our success, is just testing a lot of failed initiatives.
Yeah, you have to.
John, you won't get it wrong if you have a great event planner helping with the logistics.
Well, you've done some amazing events already with us, so thank God.
That's another question that I was going to bring up is how that type of a pivot or of a change doesn't just fall off. That becomes now an expectation of customers. Real quick to backtrack, when you said, I thought you said that you were going to bring back Zaroff's Deli, and I got really excited for a sandwich for lunch. But I don't know if Amy, you know that you're opening up a location at the mall, but it would be amazing if we could do a Zaroff's Deli at the mall, which no one would return anything. They would just consume it in mass, whether it's knishes or pastrami. Either way, I'm digressing. But the idea is that for when I pick up my kids, I used to have to go into the school and sign in and out of an iPad and wait 15 minutes for them to be kids. Now I drive up to the school, I text the school, and they bring the kid out. Like, I don't want that to end. I want that to continue. And for all parents, that wonderful thing are beyond this idea of the return lane or some of these ideas that you're challenging. Or Amy, I'm not sure how the event space works, but are there things that you think will continue on into the future as part of what you're doing?
Absolutely. I think that the best thing to come from all of this is the hybrid mentality of some people in person and some people virtual. Because especially for my nonprofit clients, we're going through many, many galas right now that have all been taken online. And when you can tell someone that instead, I'm not saying that going to a venue and dressing up and spending 4 to 6 hours at an event isn't amazing, but think about all the more people you can have with eyes on screen, donating and engaging with an event when you can now have them literally all over the world. We're doing an event next week where we've got a lot of international participants, and we had to figure out the timing of it so that we get the most eyes on screen and the most donations in, because this particular organization does work around the world. And that's really exciting because now we can say we're internationally planning, right? And so I think when we think about the hybrid model, you all are in the comfort of your home today. Now, next year, hopefully, John and I would gather at the mall. We would do this panel. We would get X amount of people in person, but we would live stream it so that those that couldn't come could also participate. That's the most exciting part for me, with that producer mentality of how many eyes can you get on something intimately.
For sure. Yeah, that's totally, like we talked about. You're going to have a camera at events everywhere now. You're going to have someone who's in technology at every event moving forward, just because you have to allow for people that don't want to come or want to participate from, there are people, I've been on Zoom calls where, not to be ageist, but like these people that here are telling me, who are significantly older than me, like, no, you push in the bottom, you push on the chat, and then that's where you go find it. I'm like, okay, you have to unmute yourself first before you tell me that. Anyways, so let's talk about a little bit of the upheaval of the summer and how the social unrest has kind of caused you to change anything in your business. I know that there's talk, John, of putting a school now at the Mall of America, and you've helped with moving some of the Lake Street businesses to the Mall of America. I think that's worth shedding light on as well. Amy, I know that you're also working with some organizations, some smaller organizations, to help with people of color. And I'm wondering if maybe we could take a minute and talk about your social actions and what you are all doing currently and kind of moving forward from a business perspective.
Before that, I'd like everyone to introduce you to my son, who is hiding behind the camera here. All right, I can't get him. He's too strong for me.
We need a kid photo bomb. We need a kid Zoom bomb for one of these just to make it official.
About 5 minutes ago, I had 3 kids banging on that door. And I don't know if you can see it through the camera. 2 kids? Yeah, that's pretty incredible. Yeah, so I'll tell you, there's always pressure when there's a major event to make a statement. And you're going to find this is going to be true in the past, and it's going to be true going forward. And because we have such a loud mouthpiece, it's almost like deafening, because everyone's like, what does Mall of America have to say? Like, it's shocking what kind of conversations we're pulled into and tagged into that have absolutely nothing to do with our business. And we're having to respond if we find it necessary to respond. So with the civil unrest that was going on, there was a lot of immediate, I would say, knee-jerk reactions to sort of say, like, put up a catchphrase or make a statement or like put it on my website, we believe. And I think it's important to share how you feel, but I think actions speak louder than words. And it's a real differentiator when you're actually making decisions to follow those core beliefs and the core values versus just catchphrases, which are sort of making sure that I'm aligned with everyone else. So I can tell you that it took us weeks before we even had a direction. Now we're apolitical because we represent hundreds of other businesses. So it's not so simple for us to make any statements on anything because it's not in the best interest always, because we're having to, we're really just the landlord. But core values, which we feel are fundamental, that are through and through, like I would say Jewish values, which I live by in my business. And, we have mezuzahs on the entranceways of Mall of America. I don't know if anyone's ever seen those, but the core values we stick with. And so when we were deciding how do we respond, our thought was, well, we're a business of helping other businesses. And we understood that a lot of the businesses in downtown were destroyed. And so we made a deliberate effort in trying to help with the rebuilding of the businesses in Lake Street. And what we did is we actually relocated a charter school that was destroyed into Mall of America. And, I think it's a couple hundred students now are able to now have school. And the other piece that we did is we've so far helped, I think it's about 17 to 20 small businesses that were destroyed. We basically gave them a space and allowed them to just have income to be able to survive through the downturn. And I'll tell you, it's a double-edged sword because people look at, oh, big Mall of America, look what you're doing. You're trying to steal businesses from downtown. Like, you're so opportunistic. And we knew that you're going to get that sentiment, and people are they're not always going to understand the motives here. But we tried to make it very clear that this is just a one-year event and ultimately helping them rebuild their businesses. And so doing the right thing is not always going to be popular, and people are always, they're going to have comments. And anything we do, I guarantee you, even with the best intentions, there's always going to be people that are commenting and putting pressure on you one way or another. But so in summary, make sure your core values are clear. Make sure you're not making knee-jerk reactional comments just to be sort of on the bandwagon. And then when you decide, make decisions that are actually true in action, and make decisions that people will see. And then that's how we believe we've been able to help in the most dramatic way. Hopefully we can do more as we go forward. Sorry.
Let's get to Lonnie. Hey, Lonnie, that sounds like a great article to write for a Jewfolk article to put up on the site. Amy, how are you dealing with the social unrest, and how are you as a business owner dealing with that?
Well, John, I could not agree with you more about the core values. We post our core values as a business right on our website for everybody to see, so that people can relate to who my brand is, not only as a brand, but as me as a person, because you have to trust the person that you're doing business with. So that is very important to me. So just when COVID struck, I wanted to find a way to remain relevant in the minds of our clients and friends. And so I created an Instagram live called Today is a Reason to Celebrate. And it was originally every day. So for the first 90 episodes, it was every day. And then it became 3 times a week. And it was really to promote other small business owners around the country to share with us, how are they finding little ways to celebrate? And so then fast forward to May 25th and the murder of George Floyd. And just after that, my friend Jasmine Stringer, who some of you might know from WCCO, she does a frequent lifestyle segment on the morning show. She decided to create something called Share the Mic MN. And Share the Mic MN's mission is to amplify the voices of Black and Brown women residing in Minnesota by expanding their reach. So she asked me if I would be on the advisory board and help to promote the small business stories and the human stories of these women whose lives had been changed dramatically by, well, not only by the murder of George Floyd, but we needed to hear their stories and what they'd been going through as female entrepreneurs for years prior to the murder of George Floyd. And so as soon as she asked, I said yes, because I believe in her mission. And moreover, I believe in supporting and promoting other small business owners, men or women, throughout the world. I mean, I hope that people would do the same for us. So it's been really exciting. Every other Wednesday, there's a Share the Mic takeover. And this past Wednesday, there was a senator running for office who shared the mic with a Black woman locally who's in politics. There are so many incredible conversations happening, and all you have to do is follow the hashtag Share the Mic MN, and you can see all those conversations. So to me, that was the most important way to, it wasn't about amplifying my voice. It was about doing what I could for others to figure out how to make their livelihoods stronger and better. And we're still going to do it.
That's awesome. With that being said, I mean, is there any, I know we're getting close to the timeline. Is there anything that you want to promote as far as like a social media tag? Obviously that one is a good one. Maybe we can put some of these in the chat, maybe between Genevieve's sips of encouragement from City Girl Coffee. We can throw some of these in the chat. Are there any social media, is there like a Zaroff's events that we can put in there, or is there anything with the Mall of America we can help promote on this? Kind of as we
know, you just brought the deli back. Have you spoken to my husband? I don't know. We're not ready. We're not ready to get back in the restaurant business. I'll tell you that.
No offense to all the other delis in town, but man, I still have distinct memories. Now it's like a dentist office.
Weren't you like 3? Were you 3 when we had that business? I don't know.
Listen, it was such a good business. It made an impression. I sat there. I drive by to Trader Joe's now. I'm like, oh, that was the good deli.
I should mention something that's important for us is always to have a kosher option at Mall of America, and we've always done that no matter what. We don't, it's something that we sort of do as a give back to the community. And so it's funny you mention it. We actually found a really, really hot brand on the East Coast called Chickies, and they actually do these incredible foot-long deli sandwiches and chicken fried sandwiches, like all that fatty stuff that I shouldn't be eating every day because I'm going to be in the office there. So in the next,
I'll meet you there.
In the next few weeks, we're going to have a really, really awesome fast food court. It'll be in the South Food Court. Stay tuned for that.
I'm going to go ahead and do this just to see if it works. We crushed our goal. We're almost up to $6,000 for Libby right now. That if anyone pushes any of these on the jcation.org site, if anyone pushes the 2,500, the 1,800, the 1,000, the 500, I will say that John and I will and Amy will all meet you for a Chickies sandwich. If you push any one of these buttons down here, I will guarantee that I will personally pay for the Chickies sandwich, and we'll all meet out there and have a sandwich with you. So
yeah, Josh, watch out Nathan's hot dogs contest. We're gonna have the Chickies footlong contest. How about that, John?
I'm so hungry. I'm in. Cool. Well, this has been a wonderful conversation. We'll continue to keep the conversations going. Again, this is going to be your last chance to make to that sponsored sip for what we're doing here. No. Good job. Look, we got a kid photo bomb. Love it. Genevieve, I think our time is up, but thank you very much, Amy, for all your insight. John, as always, thank you very much. Shabbat shalom to everybody. And 9 o'clock hour is right around the corner. So if anything else, all the best. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.